County Sheriff Alex Villanueva and Terrell County, Texas Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland. Sheriffs, thank you both for coming on. To you first, Sheriff Cleveland. Mayorkas knows very well that we are not safer today than we were before 9/11 because we have seen 11 million people, many of whom we do not know anything about, come into this country. Your thoughts?
You know, it certainly he does. And it's just more political rhetoric from this administration and from Mayorkas. Look, I spent from 2003 when DHS was first brought forth all the way till when I retired from the U.S. Border Patrol in 2022. And look, what is going on now is nowhere near what I left the Border Patrol with inspections, with vetting. What's going along the border now is really the opposite of that.
Yeah, it really is. I want to play a little bit more sound. This is from Mayorkas on Cavuto today. Watch.
We implemented the circumvention of lawful pathways rule through regulation. We have built additional facilities, deployed enforcement and removal operations.
I mean, it's just not, it's talking around everything. It's not really even sensible. You're like, what is he saying there? He just keeps going through some of these things that are apparently happening. If you can't tell the truth, if you can't really rely on the truth from him, he's got to talk around it. What do you think about this?
Well, that's what he's talking about, outputs, but he's not talking about outcome.
Yeah.
You can write off a bunch of nonsense statistics that, putting in the right context, you realize it means nothing. The fact is, we've almost doubled the undocumented immigrant population in the United States in the span of just the last few years. And that is a massive amount of people. We do not know who they are, where they're going, what the impact that's going to be when it hits the safety net that is already straining amongst the homeless crisis we have in the nation. The fact that we're not even keeping track of crime statistics anymore. I mean, there's so many things that are going wrong at the same time that we really have to take a step back and see what are we doing right.
Yeah, it's interesting. Reuters Ipsos on should we deport those who come here illegally, put this up on the screen. 56% say most or all should be deported if they're in this country. It's a big number, which shows you, Sheriff Cleveland, that, I mean, this is an issue the voters are looking very, very closely at, and most of them agree with the former President Trump's view on this.
Certainly, you know, and we have to continue to make sure we keep border security and immigration separate. Those are two separate issues. Yes, they cross paths, but we got to get back and focused on securing our border. I was with Vice President Pence today, along with former Chief Rodney Scott of the U.S. Border Patrol, and we talked about deportations. You know, and I'm of the opinion that, you know, it's going to take a lot more than what voters realize. Chief Scott, who's a good friend of mine, he brought up some good points. But look, it's going to take our local law enforcement agencies to get back in sync with DHS, with 287G that gives us the authority to hold those criminal aliens in place in our jail cells, and then allows us to turn them over to the feds for removal.
Yeah, because what they're not saying, and you know, you see the border and they come across the border, Sheriff, it's crazy, but what they're not seeing is the damage they're doing to inner cities like Los Angeles, flooding the schools. These kids already can't read and do math at grade level, and they're filled with these people that don't speak Spanish, and you know, they need to be educated, but it's hard when the kids are already there.
Very true. Remember, we were struggling with the population we already had.
Right.
And this wave that really hasn't hit hard yet, but is going to, especially coming this summer, will people start realizing the impact of adding 11 million people to a straining system. And stand by to stand by.
Yeah, it really is. It's one of those things where you think, where are we going? I mean, how do we do this? Sheriff Villanueva, Sheriff Cleveland, thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it very much. Coming